We've reached another milestone of the Retrospective, the 5th and arguably most popular entry in the Macross series, Macross Frontier. We've now reached the late 2000s, and the Macross franchise was still going strong. With Macross Zero, they finally made the jump to digital animation, and for as cool as that series was, people were still clamoring for a full-length TV series. And with the 25th anniversary of the franchise creeping up, it seemed like there was no better time. I've said it time and time again at this point, but the Macross sequels tend to be a little experimental. Military dramas with evil AIs, whatever the fuck Basra was doing, or a weird prequel focusing on Mayans, supernatural elements, and colonization. Things sort of went astray. The original balance of romance, war drama, and music sort of got lost, as the sequels tended to prioritize one of these aspects over the other, which in turn would isolate a certain part of the fanbase. So for the next series, they opted to go back to basics, trying to cover that mass appeal the original had. And this worked out nicely, because Macross Frontier was a smash hit. It got countless merch lines with even some collabs, a plethora of concerts, albums, it got 2 movies, a bunch of video games, and hell, it even got an OVA after its predecessor entry Macross Delta already came out. No other Macross entry has achieved such a thing, and said OVA kinda teases the possibility of even more Frontier content in the future. This series will truly never die. As for those who worked on Frontier, we had the usuals, like Shoji Kawamori as the director, and Yoko Kanno came back for the soundtrack, which was a treat. The character designs weren't done by Mikimoto this time. Instead, it was newcomer Risa Ibata. And the mech designs were done by Junya Ishigaki and Takeshi Takakura, the latter of which had experience in Kawamori's other work, Aquarion. The series would run for 25 episodes, with the first one getting the recuts, which made this quite confusing. So there's the normal broadcast version, the Deculture edition, and the Yak Deculture edition. The broadcast release is exactly as it sounds. But the Deculture edition was aired months before the series would properly drop in order to build hype. The 2 cuts would have a lot of minor differences, and would eventually be combined into the Yak Deculture edition. So yeah, just a heads up, if you want to start Macross Frontier, watch the Yak Deculture edition of episode 1, you're welcome. The first line of the series is even Yak Deculture, oh, this is gonna be a masterpiece. The year's now 2059, approximately 13 years after Macross 7, and 50 years since SDF. We follow the voyage of the 25th Macross, the Macross Frontier. Oh, because it's the 25th anniversary series, they're clever! Visiting the fleet is the galaxy's current hit songstress, the galactic fairy, Cheryl Nome. If that last name sounds familiar to you, it's because she's the granddaughter of Mao from Macross Zero. Sarah would not be happy. Since it's a 2000s anime, we cut to our high school setting with our Fortnite trio squad. Why did I write that in the script? Alto, Michael, and Luca. Luca's a nerdy twink. Michael is the hotshot badass sniper who gets hosed. And our main protagonist is a chill as fuck guy named Alto, who just loves the sky. At least he's chill until Michael bullies him for looking like a girl. He's not a girl! Anyways, we see them flying around on these weird little jetpack things that don't actually have official names as far as I'm aware, which is kinda crazy considering how often they're used, but I like them, they're cool. And we get a glimpse of the second main idol of the series, Ranka Lee, where similar to Minmay in SDF, she starts off as an ordinary girl working at a Chinese restaurant. Kawamori has actually confirmed that Cheryl and Ranka are based on Do You Remember Love Minmay and SDF Minmay respectively. Anyways, her brother Osma managed to get her a ticket to Cheryl's latest concert, which is where these 3 paths will intersect, as Alto and his pals have been recruited to do stunt work for it. As we see Alto flying, we see how deep his passion for it truly is. He views flying as sort of an art form, with the sky being the only place he feels truly free. And if this sounds overdramatic, it's probably due to his past as a kabuki actor. With the introductions out of the way, we cut to our first opening, which is pretty solid all around. You can quickly notice just how good this series looks visually. This isn't like Macross's previous TV outings, which were just really inconsistent and wonky wonky. No, this series' animation is nearly on the levels of the OVAs and movies. The dogfights utilize the benefits of 3D animation very well. The characters are very expressive, with them not being afraid to go a bit off model for the sake of fun movements and expression, and they put an insane amount of effort into the lighting and general shot compositions. Everything in this series has a very cinematic feel to it. Just before the concert, Cheryl's acting like an absolute bitch to everyone around her, Ranka's running late because she's stupid and got lost, and Alto decides to wash up after his practice. But whoa, Ranka walks by and sees him doing this. What a wacky situation. She also thinks he's a girl at first, which leads to a funny "I'm a boy, damn it" joke. But since he's such a chill guy, he escorts her back to the city anyways. As a token of gratitude, she invites him to the Nyan Nyan restaurant while doing the iconic Macross Frontier Nyan Nyan dance. This is the first Macross series to come out post-meme culture, so you best bet this series got some dank memes. I won't fuck with you unless you've heard the Nyan Nyan song Rock remix. This shit slaps. Cheryl begins her concert by saying, "Listen to my song. How dare you stand where he stood?" For real though, this is an excellent performance, both song and visual wise. And during the performance, Alto begins going off script, which pisses off everyone around him, but it actually comes in clutch once Cheryl falls off the stage. This is like an unofficial Macross fall. Outside the concert, we see the military engaged in combat against unknown insect-like alien creatures. And once they make their way into the frontier, an evacuation is called. Michael and Luca just suspiciously run away, so Alto has to escape alone, where he calls out Cheryl for abandoning her fans. But she doesn't give a fuck. She's a bitch. I didn't say it, famous military lady Catherine did. The creatures begin terrorizing the city, with Alto getting caught in the crossfire. But before he's finished off, he's saved by a soldier piloting a VF-25, who is immediately murdered before his very eyes. That's gonna leave some permanent trauma. With the pilot killed, their attention shifts over to the nearby trembling Ranka, which prompts Alto to jump into the VF-25 himself in order to save the day. And that was episode 1. This series loves cliffhangers, and it has very snappy pacing. But it's not overly so. Nothing feels rushed, and there isn't any meandering either. It's a series that knows what it wants to do, and it does it. Everything just sort of clicks. After struggling to control the Valkyrie, the two are saved by Ranka's brother and SMS squadron leader Osma. The sight of the insects seems to trigger some flashbacks within Ranka, implying she has some sort of history with them. Alto flies them into the air, but he loses his grasp on her, leading us to the first true Macross fall. Seriously, I think this right here just encapsulates how cinematic this series feels compared to prior TV entries. It's awesome. They also give a wacky, whoa, he's touching her in a weird area joke, which they're not funny, but that sure as hell doesn't stop the writers from shoving them into this series non-stop. While back on the ground, Ranka decides to refute CinemaSins by explaining that her eardrums didn't pop because she's part Zentradi, they're just built different. Mid-conversation, Alto's just like, damn, that's crazy, but just hold on one sec. And then he just goes over to the sidewalk and starts vomiting while having horrific war flashbacks. He's just like me, for real. That's what I do during my 10-minute breaks at retail. Him and Ranka get analyzed to make sure they didn't catch any evil alien bug diseases. And once they come up clear, Alto's approached by both the military for a position as a soldier, and Osma for a position in SMS. As SMS is a private defense organization that's separate from the military. He drives Alto to the base to talk things out, and we hear him playing Totsugeki Love Heart on the radio. Yes, one of his notable character traits is being a firebomber dick rider. He's just like me, for real. Once they reach the base, Alto discovers that Michael and Luca have secretly been SMS members this whole time. And the pilot who died before was a close friend of theirs named Galia. Before he could detail his death, the enemy alert goes off. All while both Cheryl and Ranka have begun searching for Alto. Ranka to thank him and Cheryl to, I don't know, just be a bitch to him because he told her off that one time. I don't know what her deal is. Their paths end up crossing, but Ranka doesn't realize that it's Cheryl. Her disguise is just that good. Cheryl just revels in the dick riding. As they walk, she's just like, so you're a Cheryl Nome fan, why don't you tell me how cool and awesome she is? Valkyries from the ongoing battle fly above them, and Ranka's all like, wow, that must be the military. It's a good thing my brother would never be part of any military organization. He just works in a boring office job. First the Cheryl disguise and now this girl doesn't know shit. But hey, she begins singing. We like seeing that in our Macross series. It's only when Cheryl joins in her song where she's like, wait a fucking second, you're Cheryl Nome! And then Alto comes in and they're both like, holy shit, it's the femboy with the jetpack! And then the bug creature comes up and they're like, holy shit, it's iconic bug creature number 573! Osma comes and tries killing him. Some firebomber fan you are. Me and my boy Pedro, we would've just sang to him. You're a fraud. Anyways, he confirms that the alien are called the Vajra. The trio flees to a nearby safety bunker, and Ranka's so shooken up by the ordeal that she can't even let go of Alto. Cheryl, though, she just calls him a pathetic bitch who has no riz. She kind of reminds me of Baby Gronk. That kid's gotta lay off the Rizzler. He fucking owns you. Well, that just dated this video horribly. Alto explains that the emergency vaults aren't gonna open until the attack is over, meaning this is like the iconic family Urusei Yatsura episode where Ataru and Mendo get stuck in the Mendo estate vault. The vibrations of the ship lead to another wacky boob joke, except this one's actually kinda funny. Not because of the joke itself, but because Alto's like, what the fuck do you mean you're always showing your boobs on stage, you slut? Alto, dude, you can't call women that! To lighten the mood, Ranka gives us another boob joke. Boob dumplings. Well, at least it's somewhat creative. You get a sticker. The outside battle causes the bunker's ventilation system to go down, giving them only 15 minutes until the oxygen runs out. But Cheryl's just like, fuck that, I'm the galactic fairy, I'm just built different, and then goes to escape the bunker by herself. I don't really know what her plan here was, but it doesn't matter, cause here comes her manager, Grace, to save the day. Wow, Grace is such a nice lady. Surely she has no dastardly galaxy-ending schemes up her sleeve. While leaving, Cheryl gives Alto some death threats in case he tries leaking anything that happened in there, and she tells Ranka that she too can be a great idol someday. Oh my god, they're even green and yellow like Deku and All Might. Peak really mirrors Peak. Then Osma casually floats by, profusely bleeding. Well, golly, that must have been a crazy day at the office. For real though, she just has another panic attack, which is soon explained to be a result of her condition, dissociative amnesia, which is just when your brain blocks out chunks of your past as a traumatic response. Osma explains he's actually her adoptive brother, as her biological family and entire home colony was destroyed by the Vajra when she was a kid. Alto scolds him for hiding the truth from Ranka, and demands to know the truth behind the Vajra himself, and Osma tells him the only way he could do that is if he joins SMS. With 24 hours to make the decision, he decides to do some reflecting. Well, Michael's all like, you can't kill people, you're a pussy! So to escape that asshole, he goes to the park, where he spots Ranka singing a song that I'm gonna give its own counter. This is the IMO song. Look, I wasn't gonna do another counter because, let's be honest, nothing is surpassing the legacy of Planet Dance. But I'd feel kinda sad letting this bit go. Anyways, the IMO song's got lore, as it's the only thing from Ranka's childhood she could recall. She tells Alto how she's jealous of Cheryl's ability to sing in front of others. And while they were locked in the vaults, she was terrified that she was gonna die before achieving anything of worth. But Alto follows in the footsteps of All Might's cousin, Blue Might, and tells her, Ranka, you too can be a great idol someday. And then she sings the IMO song again. See, the counter's not worthless. After the funeral for Gilliam, Alto tells Osma he wants to join SMS. And Ranka decides to take her first step in idolhood in the way Minmay herself did, joining the Miss Macross competition. That's right, baby, the long-awaited sequel to the Miss Macross contest, let's go! The episode starts with a fun little montage of Alto being brutally tortured while training as Ranka practices her performance. And once the moment arrives, Cheryl comes to help boost Ranka's low self-esteem, which is a weirdly nice gesture from her. Ranka's really gonna need it, as Alto can't make it to the show. Not only was he called for a surprise SMS-related test, but while going, he saw his shitty abusive father and was like, nope, nuh-uh. But hey, Ranka sings My Boyfriend as a Pilot. Oh, I miss these days. All while he's sparring against a Zentradi named Clan. This scene is pure Soyjack nostalgia goodness. We get an awesome dogfight. The animators lock the fuck in for Ranka's singing animation. And again, she's singing My Boyfriend as a Pilot. But these bitch-ass Vajra attack and interrupt it. And since they're in training mode, they have no proper gear to deal with it. But Alto doesn't care, he's charging straight in with a knife. Those bastards destroyed Ranka's homeland and interrupted My Boyfriend as a Pilot, and now they're gonna pay. Clan assists as well, and she also has a weird genetic defect that makes her turn into a child when she goes into myclone form. Ranka loses the Miss Macross competition, and none other than the mean girl who was bullying her earlier. What a fucking joke. At least we get some unusually smooth animation here. I mean, look at Luca go! There's also some wacky Clan and Michael antics, cause I guess they're pals. Whoa, here comes Cheryl to jump Alto, what is her problem? Next episode, Osma's mad! I guess singing My Boyfriend as a Pilot on national television was enough to get Ranka suspended from her pristine all-girls school. And he really doesn't want her to become a singer. But that won't stop her. She tells him to fuck off, tries murdering him in broad daylight, and then runs out of the house. Cheryl's dragged Alto into a locker room where she explains that she's scheduled to leave the frontier next week, and now needs help finding one of her missing earrings before then. But whoa, a bunch of girls come in and they need to hide in the locker, and Alto's phone vibrates, leading to a wacky vibrator joke. Ain't this hilarious? I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like some prude who's like, oh, sexual jokes, but these ones just ain't landing for me. They don't have any originality. You want good boob jokes in your anime, go watch Cutie Honey or some shit. She deflected boob missiles because her boobs were firmer. That was badass. Alto understandably wants nothing to do with this deranged woman, but he has no choice cause she takes his necklace and shoves it into her tits. Why? At least Osma's having a good time. He's chilling with hot military lover girlfriend Catherine, and they sent people to track Ranka in case she's doing any of that singing shit. She tries calling Alto for help, but he's too busy having this date montage with the dumb chick chasing butterflies, so she gets help from Michael instead. During the date montage, Cheryl mentions how people on her fleet have brain implants, kinda like the Elon Musk Neuralinks. Surely that technology is going to be used for the good of mankind. They soon arrive at an observation deck where she can admire the clear skies for once, as apparently her colony is mostly blocked out by chemical plants because apparently Sonic Team is their government. These scenes are cute though. Cheryl and Alto's bickering is amusing, and they have that sweeter angle of Alto not treating her differently because of her status. She's allowed to be the quirky white girl she always was. Next stop is the Zentradi Mall. It's exactly as it sounds, a mall but giant. The architecture of it also resembles the proto-culture ruins, which I think that's neat. Michael and Ranka also arrive there, as Ranka vents about why she ran away. Between Osma lying to her about his role in SMS and his refusal to accept her as a singer, she's tired of constantly being treated like a child. However, Michael decides to challenge her resolve, telling her that if she wants to be taken seriously as a singer, then she has to prove herself. And what better way to do that than singing in front of this crowd of people? This leaves her stunned. Sure, she sang in front of the audience at the Miss Macross contest, but you kinda go into a show expecting people to be singing, but these guys? Just randomly singing at unsuspecting strangers is some Basara type shit. She ain't built for that. Alto's having an easier time though. He's like, my resolve, I just want to see the sky, bro, before throwing one of his iconic paper airplanes. As the plane passes by, Ranka is reminded of the encouragement Alto gave her earlier. This gives her the push she needs, breaking out into a full musical number by singing Cheryl's song, What About My Star? What if it was called What About My Starlight? That'd be cool, I think. This performance gets the attention of everyone, even seemingly triggering something in the far distant Vajra creatures that are being researched on, as they begin glowing and breaking out of the confinement. We also learn that other Vajra have overrun Cheryl's home colony, the Galaxy, but she's still blissfully unaware, even kissing Alto in front of Ranka, which just leaves her befuddled. Aside from the genocide going on behind the scenes, I love this moment. The song slaps, it nicely establishes Ranka's journey to becoming an idol, and it sets up what I consider to be the strongest Macross love triangle yet. Next episode finally sees Osma accepting Ranka's newfound path, and one of the spectators was a music producer named Elmo, who's now eager to help her achieve stardom. The gang has a celebratory hangout session where they establish themselves as the official Ranka Lee fan club, each giving their own words of encouragement. It's a wholesome time. At least until Ranka asks Alto why he was with Cheryl, and he's like, I was never with Cheryl, dude, that is not a good look. He even gives her tickets to the upcoming Cheryl concert. That is probably the last thing she wants right now. Cheryl finally learns what's happening back on the Galaxy, and despite it being a state of emergency, she still wants to return home. Alto eventually finds Cheryl's missing earring and promptly returns it to her. She explains how it's an earring that's been passed down throughout her family, with them even editing the earring into Mao's House and later re-releases of Macross Zero. It's really neat. Alto and the rest of SMS are tasked to go help the Galaxy, and so Cheryl lets him keep the earring as a token of good luck. I swear, dude, just about every episode of this show makes it a point to have at least one 10 out of 10 banger standout scene, and this ending scene is one of them. You can really feel the anxiety behind Cheryl's performance, not just for Alto's safety, but for the safety of her home. The weight Alto and Osma feel knowing that there's people relying on them to come home safely, the way the song's beat drops to the credits, the shots of them flying up into the sky as both Cheryl and Ranka look on. It's just one out of a million examples of how awesome this show's general direction is, and the next episode keeps it up. We get our typical Macross fare, awesome fast-paced Valkyrie fights while Cheryl sings some love songs. They even do a classic missile dodge maneuver in sync with the beat drop. It's awesome. The fight escalates as a large battleship-looking Vajra arrives onto the field, and while Luca's trying to gain intel, he's grabbed and swallowed into it. We're gonna miss him, except not really, he didn't do a whole lot. While in the audience, Ranka receives a message from Osma saying he'll be out late, and judging by those lights in the sky, she's able to piece together what's going on. However, it's not Ranka who begins panicking this time, it's Cheryl. The fact Alto might die, the fact her whole colony might be destroyed, she begins to crack under the pressure. She wipes away the tears, telling herself, I'm the galactic fairy, there's no way I'd cry. But she can't help it. And so in a nice little role reversal, Ranka's the one to step up and encourage her. She calls out to Cheryl, and just a mere glance is enough to snap her out of it. No words need to be spoken, just the mere sight of Ranka is enough of a reminder that she isn't alone. Ranka and countless others are also terrified of everything going down with the Vajra, but she's the one who has to instill them with hope. With big fame comes big music, that's what Uncle Frank said, so she rallies everyone to step up and sing alongside her, with their voices hopefully reaching across the galaxy and bringing everyone home. Alto charges inside the mothership trying to save Luca, but he's ambushed by a mysterious purple guy and a Valkyrie. And just as he's about to lose, he feels Cheryl's song. We don't know how yet, but the airing clearly has something to do with it. Since it's Macross, the music amps him up enough to overpower his foe, save Luca, and escape the mothership before the Frontier destroys it with the Macross cannon. The day is saved, and the strange purple guy starts playing the IMO song on the harmonica. Look at this, we get the IMO song ED. Yes, this show likes doing special EDs a lot, I really appreciate it. Ranka's now a wagey. This early game idle shit ain't easy. And while doing her wacky side hustles, a mysterious green creature takes note of her. This guy's gonna be important one day, trust. We then get the reveal she'll be joining Alto's school, specializing in the performing arts course. Well, golly, this couldn't get any more awkward. Whoa, here comes Cheryl. So yeah, Cheryl also arrives, but not to enroll as a student. She's just here to torture Alto. She even starts calling him a slave. What are you even doing here? Go back to the galaxy. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. The galaxy just went missing. Yeah, all that build-up, and it was just gone. I don't know what the fuck happened to it, but Cheryl's stuck here now. Oh joy. She makes them teach her how to use the Valkyrie jetpack things, which leads to them doing that one Dragon Ball Super egg cracking bit, which, you know what, fine, I'll take it over more boob jokes. Afterwards, Cheryl and Ranka begin chatting in the showers, with Cheryl offering her some high-end jobs that'll boost her career faster. However, Ranka rejects, wanting to build her career with her own two hands. That's right, folks, get your Anatwit talent versus hard work charts. We know where to place these guys. The mysterious green creature returns, and he's stolen Cheryl's underwear. What a wacky scenario. A fellow like me would have smashed him with a Bible, I'll tell you that much. It's a mildly funny scene though, particularly the bits where Cheryl flies around the school with her jetpack causing property damage. I like me some slapstick. She eventually gets them back, but falls off the roof in the process, needing to be catched by Alto. Which, what quantifies as a Macross fall at this point? I'm not counting it. As they fly into the sunset, they have a rather romantic moment, and then we cut to Ranka walking to her first ever talk show. She's so whimsical, she's skipping while going 1, 2, décolleté. Well, too bad your show's cancelled, we needed time for the Cheryl show, fuck you. She sadly goes to the park to sing IMO again, where she finds the mysterious green creature, and then the purple guy who's actually a green guy, and he's playing IMO on the harmonica. Who the fuck is he? And this episode gives us a full circle conclusion, with Cheryl transferring into the school's piloting course. I'm sure there's some wacky hijinks that'll come from this, oh boy. Episode 9 is a Michael episode. Okay, I'm fine with side characters getting focus. While Cheryl's filming for a documentary at school, he's recognized by Grace, who gives him consolidations for his sister, who supposedly died. Thinking about his dead sister understandably sends him down a bit of a mental spiral, which bites him in the ass during a later Vajra battle as he misses his snipe and almost kills Alto in the process. Being completely ignorant to his situation, Alto snaps, being like, dude, you suck at sniping, your sister probably sucked at sniping, sister sucked at sniping, that's a fucking tongue twister now, ain't it? Anyways, Michael snaps and beats the shit out of him, and after their conflict, we do a bit of pondering. Clan tries talking things out with him, but ends up getting frustrated because he's just not very open with his emotions and is ignoring her very obvious signs of love. Get Valkyrie bitch slapped. Meanwhile, Alto wonders if he did the right thing by joining SMS, trying to figure out if it's something he actually wanted to do, or he's simply using it as a way to run from his past as a kabuki actor. This is all melodramatic shit, and then we just cut to Ranka, who sees the green guy again, but he does the Spider-Man 3 truck thing. This dude might be one of the funniest characters in fiction. Clan and Alto have a heart-to-heart, with her explaining Michael's feelings since they're childhood friends, so she gets it. She explains that Michael's sister misfired similarly to him, except she actually did kill her comrade in the process. The military believed it to be intentional, and were gonna sentence her as a traitor, but before they could do anything, she ended up killing herself. Realizing he might have fucked up, Alto decides to give him another chance, and in the next battle he successfully lands the shot. Afterwards, they visit his sister's grave and have a nice heart-to-heart that solidifies a pretty good friendship between them. This episode honestly impressed me. They went all in for Michael and I appreciate it. Let's talk about Macross Zero now. Similar to that episode of 7 where they made an SDF movie, this episode has the Macross Frontier characters making a Macross Zero movie. Ranka is set to play a random side character, while SMS are doing stunt work because they need money, I guess. And even Cheryl is getting insert songs. However, she recognizes her songs are out of place and offers to write original compositions for it. You know what? She has her moments sometimes. The director recognizes Alto from his kabuki past, and begs for him to act in the film in some way, with them reaching the compromise of him being Shin's stuntman. As Ranka explores the island, she begins singing Imo, which catches the eye of the passing director. Then Ranka gets attacked by a weird lion creature. No need to fear, Alto is here, he fucking sucks. Here comes my green goat, who casually reveals that he's a cyborg. Ranka's trauma kicks in again, and she instinctively calls him Oni-chan, which, yeah, they're both green and sing the Imo song. It adds up to me. After beating the lion, he turns to her and is like, "I'm Brera Stern." I would have called him Grera because he's green. After hearing the Imo song, the director decides to cast Ranka as Mao, which, I don't think this would fly in the real world, you guys. But wait, Alto is the stuntman for the underwater scene, but wasn't the underwater scene when Shin and Mao kissed? What a wacky scenario this is. I like how Ranka's all panicking about it, and then Cheryl is just like, kissing ain't shit, and kisses him right there and then. That was a girl boss move, I have to admit. Anyways, we get to see a bit of the movie with it essentially being a shot-for-shot recreation of Zero's ending, except they're all fucked up actors and they sing the Imo song at the end. And then we get the reveal that Brera is in cahoots with Grace, who's also in cahoots with this ugly-ass military guy, Leon, and they're all planning something dastardly together. And then the director, who's actually supposed to be a self-insert of Kawamori, but with a beard, congratulates Ranka for her breakout role. This is a weird, cool meta scene. Kawamori himself is telling us to accept Ranka as the new idol. Thank you, bro. The movie debut seems to be the push she needed, as Ranka quickly begins booming in popularity. But who cares about all that? It's Alto's birthday, and his lovely brother has come to pay him a visit. He's all like, "Dude, our father is sick and dying. You have to go visit him, otherwise you'd be a terrible person." Alto's like, I don't know, but he's just like, "This piloting thing you're doing, it's all just a mask. You need to face your true destiny as a kabuki actor. You know, if you come back now, your father might even forgive you." Well, gee, happy birthday to him, and Cheryl and Ranka aren't making things any easier. Ranka tells him she'll be waiting for him at the park. Meanwhile, Cheryl invites him to escort her to planet Galia 4 for a concert. Despite her coming down with a fever, she still wants to perform there due to rumors that there might be Galaxy survivors sanctioned there. After a lot of pondering, Alto eventually goes with Cheryl. Not because of her, more so because he wants to see this new planet and the open skies. Like, he always talks about how much he loves the sky and hates being in this closed-off spacecraft. So, you know what, yeah, let him have that for his birthday. But whoa, Ranka doesn't take it that way, and she's just waiting in the park. You see, on one hand, I kind of feel bad for her, because she's just waiting here. He didn't leave a voicemail or anything. But on the other, he never actually agreed to coming, so she kind of set herself up here. But fine, the Scrimblow comes to comfort her, and she gets her special sad ED. This next episode is pure SDF fan service. It seems that nearly 50 years later, some Zentradi still aren't letting this war shit go, and Cheryl's performance on Galia 4 is their attempt at ending the Zentradi war Minmay style. But whoa, Cheryl's fever gets the best of her, rendering her bedridden. The Zentradi are all like, "You promised us good music!" and they start the war again. So Alto calls back to SMS and he's like, guys, we kinda need help here. So instead of Cheryl performing, Michael flies Ranka to Galia using an experimental fold booster. And this leads us to an iconic scene that perfectly embodies what Macross is about in only a couple minutes. Ranka sings her idol debut song Seikon Hiko, which, yeah, it immediately makes the Zentradi fold. It's classic Macross. They drop their weapons, start screaming deculture and shit. Alto has an awesome dogfight. It's cool. She also does this little love sign thing while going, Kida? Which has sort of become synonymous with the character. Holy shit, even Yoko Taro did it. She wishes Alto a happy birthday. He takes her for a ride on his Valkyrie, but whoa, the controls are failing. Take a shot every time I say whoa, you're not gonna survive to the end of this video, I'm telling ya. And the episode ends on this one scene that feels like a shitpost. After crashing, they find a rundown SDF-1, and Alto's all like, it's Macross. And then they play a remix of Do You Remember Love sung by Ranka. It's so fucking stupid, but I love it. But for some reason, the sight of the Macross triggers Ranka's trauma. Guess she must be a Gundam fan. So Alto finds a hot spring for them to cool off. And you know what? Shoutouts to Macross Frontier. They restrained from doing a wacky hot spring joke. Persona couldn't do that. Speaking of cooling off, Cheryl needs to cool off because she has a fever. God, that was a good segue. Michael's looking after her, and while getting her meds, he notices they have the words 639 Witchcraft engraved into them. Surely these are normal meds. I'm just gonna take one back to make sure. We get this cute scene where Ranka is fixing Alto's hair, and they have deep talks about how much they've grown, but it's a shame the disgusting green creature had to ruin it. They even do another, whoa, he grabbed her in a rather intimate way joke, fuck you! They do another joke where she has to piss, which, like, fine, and then they explore the fleet. Alto identifies it as the flagship of the 117th Large Exploration Fleet, which Osma mentioned was the fleet Ranka hailed from, hence why she had that traumatic response earlier. Outside the fleet, Grace is trying to activate something called the Dimension Eater, not to be confused with the iconic boss, Time Eater, from Neptune vs. Sega Hard Girls. It's not the Time Eater, that's just a dirty, perfect chaos. Alto finds all sorts of doodads. There's a sleeping Vajra, a family picture of Ranka. Speaking of family, here's Brera to play the Imo song on his harmonica. Ranka tries following after Alto, but gets lost in some weird cave housing Vajra eggs. But once they begin attacking her, Brera hops in to save the day, and so does Alto, causing a three-way battle. While the two are distracted amongst themselves, Ranka gets stuck in some weird little container, and the entire Macross begins to activate, revealing a massive Vajra fleet sleeping underneath. But Brera doesn't care, he's still like, "Raw, you're not worthy enough for Ranka!" But it's fine, Michael and Cheryl come to provide backup. Grace reveals that she's also a cyborg, using her weird tentacle arm things to activate the Dimension Eater, which turns out to be a planetary level nuke that wipes out Galia 4 in an instant. So yeah, Grace might not be a very nice person. Pause the video for a moment of silence to those Zentradi. They just wanted to chill and listen to music. They did not deserve that. Alto, Michael, and Cheryl escape, but Ranka gets captured by the Vajra, and Brera just... I don't know what happened to him, that man scares me. The next episode doesn't give us much room to breathe, as we immediately get word that the Vajra are headed for the Frontier Fleet. A good portion of this episode is just exploring all the Scrimblow SMS members and why they fight. Like, Osma's fighting for Ranka and the woman he loves. Luca's fighting for Nanase, who is a real character. I don't know if I mentioned her, but she's been part of the friend group the whole time. And Canaria is fighting for her son, Eddie. Yeah, Canaria, the nurse. She's a character. I don't know why I'm judging. I'm literally Grapple's biggest fan. With Michael still being injured from the last battle, Cheryl steps up to pilot the Valkyrie herself. Wow, this'll be a badass scene. A Macross idol actually kicking ass in a Valkyrie? She fucking sucks. Come on, Kawamori. Not only did Cheryl get robbed of this awesome moment, but Ranka's trapped in the Vajra Shadow Realm. She starts hallucinating her dead mom singing the Imo song. Somebody save her. For real though, it's a good scene. I like the stark contrast between the Imo song and this super intense battle. I like to see Alto and Brera putting aside their differences in order to save Ranka from the Vajra. It's cool. But something to note throughout the battle is how every time they kill a Vajra, it seems like it's bringing pain to Ranka as well. Almost like they're connected in some way. Vajra ends up taking Ranka away, and Grace is like, "Yes, this is the little queen, well golly." So the last episode ended off with Vajra taking Ranka away, but now she's just back. I guess he just dropped her back at her house for some reason. Thanks, man! Here's another wacky pervert joke. The next episode is kind of a recap, except not really. It is mostly reused scenes, but Grace is narrating over it, giving information and contextualizing certain events, showing us that everything that's happened in this show up until this point has sort of been planned out by her. Such as the Vajra's arrival, as they first arrived when Cheryl also arrived onto the frontier. She somehow modified Cheryl's body to give her the ability to attract the Vajra through her singing. However, Ranka seems to have been an unexpected factor in all this, seemingly also having the ability to connect with the Vajra on an even deeper level than Cheryl. This caused Grace to change gear, now wanting to abandon and dispose of Cheryl so she could replace her with Ranka. And that's part of the reason she activated the Dimension Eater to begin with. I don't know about you, but nuking the planet to kill one person seems a little excessive. She could have just gotten, like, Vajra to snipe her or some shit. Those Zentradi deserve better. But Cheryl feels like something's wrong, with anxiety about Ranka surpassing her creeping in. Knock knock knock, knock knock knock, here she is to end your career! Alto's here too. They hang out a bit in the hospital, where a television station got a hold of Ranka's mall performance and begins blaring it for all to hear. I like Alto's CinemaSins criticism being like, how did they get those camera angles? He's got jokes. Cheryl and Ranka have this amusing back and forth where they're like, wow, thanks Alto for the time you did all that romantic shit with me, which then escalates into a full-on sing-off montage session. It's goofy, but I love it. Look at these awesome triangle shots. As the first step in her new operation, Grace cooperates with Leon to hire Ranka into the military, hoping to use her music against the Vajra because, well, it's Macross, so it's gonna solve every problem. Vajra's also here to act as a bodyguard. I'd love to see a day in this dude's life. And in order to commemorate Ranka as the new industry plant to dethrone Cheryl, they straight up replace Cheryl's rendition of the ED with a Ranka one. That is really funny. Alto gets a call from SMS, with their leader Richard Burler wishing to speak with him. He was a Zentradi under the original Captain Britai fleet from SDF, and after seeing Minmay's song bring about unification firsthand, he's become fixated on the idea of uniting the galaxy. He believes this could be done with a legendary crystal known as the Fold Quartz. Fold Quartz are found all across the galaxy and allow the user to connect with and warp anywhere. This is what the Vajra used to teleport without any technology. And it turns out Cheryl's earrings are also made of Fold Quartz, which is why in one of those earlier episodes he was able to hear Cheryl's song from such a long distance. After Vajra kicks Alto's ass in school, we get back to more tragic shit with Cheryl. Grace has now officially become Ranka's manager, and she insists that she isn't replacing Cheryl, she's just gonna manage them both, trust. You see, Grace is making Ranka sing the IMO song, but this isn't your grandpa's IMO song. This is the fucked up military march rendition of it. Vajra would kill himself. Ranka finally decides to ask Vajra how he knows the IMO song, and he's just like, I don't know, and then walks away. Thanks, man. On his way back home, Alto stumbles upon Cheryl, who's forced herself out of the hospital, desperately not wanting to be replaced. Since he's such a nice guy, he carries her home, but I think this calls for another wacky pervert joke, and never change Macross Frontier. Actually, please change, these jokes aren't funny. SMS is then called on a secret mission where they plan to test Ranka's usefulness against the Vajra. However, there's a lot of unrest among the group, with Clan directly mentioning how, unlike the Zentradi or Proto-Devlin, the Vajra lack a brain to even process music, never mind the meaning behind it. Osma's also understandably worried, as he doesn't want his sister being used as a pawn for the military. Cheryl yet again leaves her room and forces her way to the SMS bridge so she can see the effectiveness for herself. Because, well, if Ranka could pull this off, Cheryl's basically washed. As she begins singing the fucked up version of IMO, Grace brings up how she doesn't need something like a speaker pod, as her connection to the Vajra allows her to generate a force known as fold waves, which is just your ability to communicate your feelings to the Vajra. Alto expresses discomfort hearing such a special song get corrupted, but regardless, it does the job. The Vajra completely stop fighting, and SMS uses this as an opportunity to kill them all, which again brings pain to Ranka due to their connection. And after their victory, we get this funny bit where the bridge girls are like, "Wow, she's just like Minmay," but gay stereotype guy, voiced by All Might, is like, "Don't you mean she's like Basara?" Shoutouts to Bobby, he just gets it. Also a new ED, oh my god, Cheryl Nome is real. Oh man, you already know I'm about to eat this episode up. This is an Osma-centric episode, which means Macross 7 references galore, it'll never truly die. While classic Firebomber song My Soul From You plays, we get a flashback to when he first took in Ranka, with her being too traumatized to even speak. So how did she snap out of it? He made a pineapple cake that was so dog shit she had to get over her trauma to insult it. It's a real sweet scene, but pineapple? But last time Macross had pineapples, it's the signal of death, Kawamori. If you do it again, let's just say you'll be getting a pineapple pizza at your doorstep. Ranka-centric OP, cause what better way is there to display her complete dominance of the Frontier Fleet? For real though, it's a pretty cheaply made OP, but like, they didn't have to do this. This is just going above and beyond. I appreciate it. Still having the pill he hijacked from Cheryl, Michael finally decides to get it inspected, asking Clan to reach out to one of her friends who researches medicine, which pisses her off because what the hell, she thought she was getting called out here for a date. And then they see Luca getting taken in by the feds. Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention this, but Luca's been working behind the scenes with the military and Leon and Grace, developing weapons for them and shit. Okay. Osma's hanging out with Catherine, where he asks her if she can make some pineapple cake for him. No, don't you fucking do it! There's also a super brief flashback to them, like, having sex while Try Again is playing, which is a fucking insane song choice. Imagine having sex, your girlfriend is unable to climax, and Basara is just like, try again, I should die. Alto decides to visit Ranka, where he uncovers the pet Scrimblow she's now named Aikun, after the iconic IMO song. He's cool. Alto yet again folds one of his iconic paper airplanes, trying to convince Ranka that killing is the only way to end the war, as the Vajra don't have brains. And once the airplane lands, Aikun begins destroying it. Surely that's not some devious foreshadowing. Ranka's pretty convinced though. She's like, well, if my songs will help you kill them, then I'm happy to help. With her ears doing the weird moving thing. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Her hair moves around like dog ears, kind of. It's a silly yet endearing character design choice. I like it. Osma does some snooping around military headquarters, but once he stumbles upon a series of Vajra corpses, Vajra comes and is like, nah-uh-uh. And after a little bit of conflict, Osma is called out to battle. And he takes a rather hefty beating, but screw that, he has a sister and hot girlfriend to go home to. He ain't dying yet. If he gets knocked down, he's gonna get up and try again. You won't believe what song they're playing in this scene. It's generational. Using the power of Neki Basara music, Osma's victorious and spends his last moments by his lover's side, watching his sister finally blossom into stardom. Yep. Just like Roy before, he was shot, but toughed it out till the last moments. Just kidding, he's fine. It would have been a real tearjerker if he died. They're taking the piss out of it, you bastards. Cheryl finds Grace and hits the Leorio stare. We finally get a look back into Cheryl's past, where she was a starving homeless child until Grace took her in and experimented on her. As mentioned before, Cheryl doesn't generate fold waves naturally like Ranka. She does through various implants and other experimentation. These experiments involved exposure to the Vajra, which gave her something known as the V-type infection. Cheryl Nome is merely a failed experiment, a tool to be discarded once a better replacement was found. And if Grace doesn't kill her, then the infection's going to regardless. Ranka went from being an absolute nobody to being Grace's tool, and Cheryl's going in the exact opposite direction. There are two lines going in opposite directions, and in the center connecting them is Alto and their love for him. Leon is desperate to find a new Earth-like planet for them to settle on, and as a result passes along a bill that'll fold the Frontier fleet a great distance. But this is a problem, as not only will the fold take up an immense amount of power, but research shows that the Vajra are attracted to fold signals. But the military is just like, it'll be fine, we have Ranka now, ain't that great. Speaking of Ranka, Osma suspects that her memories are resurfacing and tells Alto to go watch after her. Meanwhile, Clan reports her findings to Michael. They find out about Cheryl's V-type infection, and also learn that Vajra-related studies were done by 3 primary people: Grace, Mao Nome, and a lady who looks to be Ranka's mother. Cheryl overhears all this, and makes them promise not to tell Alto about her disease as she doesn't want him worrying. Michael agrees, but once she leaves again, he subtly goes against her wish by telling Alto to simply look for her. Cheryl singing IMO Eyecatcher, you can't do that, that's not your song. As she fumbles throughout the city, the stars kind of align to fuck her. Not only does the TV show a news report where Ranka has been declared the modern day Minmay with the title Super Dimension Cinderella, which, by the way, is a reference to the first ever song Minmay sung. But once she falls to her knees, there's coincidentally a Cheryl poster lying on the ground. They have quite literally signified that she is washed. And to rub salt into the wound, they play Ranka's rendition of Do You Remember Love. Like, damn, she really is the modern day Lin Minmay. After the other modern day Lin Minmay. I swear, modern day Lin Minmay is first gay Disney character of the Macross world. Just when she thinks Alto's come to save her, surprise, it's actually his brother. And he's using Cheryl as a ploy to make Alto come back to his home. What is this guy's problem? Alto sees them take off, but before he can follow, he's called into battle by SMS. The military's plan works. She sings IMO, and they use the Macross cannon to slaughter the Vajra so they can fold. But that amount of Vajra death really hurts Ranka, so she sings IMO again in their memory. Next episode begins with a nightmare of her past, where baby Ranka is crying while baby Brera just kinda stands there cause he's chill like that. Her tears trigger something in Aikun, and he heads off on an Aikun adventure, while Brera plays the IMO song on his harmonica on the roof. For some reason, I don't even question him anymore. Opening 2 actually debuted last episode, but I forgot to talk about it, so we'll do it here. It's fucking awesome. The song's fucking awesome, the visuals are really trippy, but really cool. I might even go as far as to say this is my favorite Macross opening. Except for Dynamite Explosion, that's still the GOAT. Ranka's having a big parade to celebrate her success, but ends up skipping it after Aikun runs away. It's here she finds Brera getting attacked by cats in the alleyway, cause why wouldn't he be? And we get a series of wholesome SMS member hangout montages. Alto finally sneaks his way back home to save Cheryl, but he's immediately caught. But thankfully his father isn't around, and he finds Cheryl, albeit in a very depressed state. She says she's quit singing, masking the pain by saying she's already done what she's wanted to do and is just trying to move on, but Alto calls her out on her bullshit. He reminds her that even if she was handed her idol career, it was still her hard work that allowed her to maintain it. And regardless of how she got there, she did inspire people through her music. She's still the galactic fairy, and it's still her duty to give people hope. And he's just like, I'm doing stunt work for Ranka's next show, so you better show the fuck up. And it's at this show where Grace and Leon are planning for a super duper big Vajra attack. Cheryl looks at a picture of Alto's mother, where his brother explains how she slowly died due to terminal illness. He then goes on another one of his crazy lectures about how Alto's heart really belongs to kabuki acting, and this pilot thing is just a mask. And you know what, Cheryl? You're also wearing a mask. Your idol stuff, that is the mask. And then she just kind of leaves. We gotta get the fuck away from this dude. Going back to these dumbasses, Ranka's like, you know, Brera, you give off real older brother vibes. And he's just like, that is quite curious. Oh my fucking god, how do they not get it? Anyways, he decides to ask her why she sings, and she says it's simply because she enjoys doing it. But he points out that despite singing, she still seems depressed, so there must be more to it. And while this question sent Vajra into a multi-episode spiral, Ranka thinks about it for 5 seconds and is like, oh shit, it's for Alto. And that amps her back up, especially when she sees him and the other stuntmen spelling out her name with a heart during the show. She thinks it's for her, but the whole time Alto's like, damn, I wonder what Cheryl's doing right now. After that, Clan tells Cheryl to grow up and tell Alto her feelings, while Michael tells Alto to grow a pair and pick between Cheryl and Ranka. You see, it's a funny scene because these two aren't following their own advice, they suck at talking to each other. While this is going down, Luca finds a drawing of Aikun by Nanase, which he recognizes as a Vajra larva. Which are not surprising, but speaking of the Vajra, Ranka's singing begins to attract a massive swarm of them. The Vajra swarm arrives, Osma and Catherine finally learn the truth about Leon's dastardly nature. He tries assassinating the current president of the new UN government so he can gain control of the frontier himself. And Ranka finally gains the courage to confess her feelings to Alto, only to find out Cheryl's beaten her to the punch. They do an OP drop for the ED. This is insanity. Macross Frontier Episode 20. I know just saying those words made some Frontier heads shudder, because this one's a real doozy. The romance is climaxing, as not only does Clan ask Michael outright who he loves, but Cheryl clings to Alto for reassurance after everything that's happened, as Ranka looks on in horror, as her entire reason for singing has just been shattered. Before they could do anything, the newly evolved Vajra begin their assault, which prompts Alto into asking Ranka to use her songs, but how can she? She breaks down and says it herself. She's sick of being a puppet, being alone. She hates this. She hates all of this. All she wants to do in this moment is lie down and die. Cheryl bitch slap! Cheryl looks her in the eyes and tells her, even if you feel like shit, there's still people counting on you. You're a professional, the Super Dimension Cinderella. Can't afford to just sing for Alto anymore. You need to sing for everyone. Granted, pushing back her feelings isn't the healthiest long-term solution, but in this moment it has to be done. And she realizes this. She sings the Imo song yet again. She can't stop thinking about how much it hurts, but she keeps pushing on, because she knows the stakes. But that pain that she's harboring inside of herself, it attracts a quantity of Vajra never seen before. The gang has no choice but to retreat, and Cheryl heads to a shelter with an injured Nanase, while Alto takes off with Ranka to a nearby Valkyrie so they can work to fight against the invaders. Even Grace orders Vajra to go assist, as this is more Vajra than even she anticipated. And the Frontier fleet being destroyed right now would just ruin her plans. At first he's like, do I have to? But she reminds him that his brain implants have a force control mode, so yeah, he kinda does have to. Leon also kills the president. I'm glad somebody's getting their win today. He's honestly a pretty petty character. His whole motive is just wanting to be the president. Oh yeah, the president was also Catherine's father. Well, that sucks. Michael and Clan rejoin Alto and Ranka, where they stumble upon numerous dead maintenance members. Realizing this might be her last moment to do so, Clan asks him sternly who he truly loves, but he yet again pushes away the question and denies his feelings. Clan ain't standing for that though. She punches him in the gut and runs off proclaiming she loves him. She's a bit quirky. While in the bunker, Cheryl overhears some civilians calling Ranka a fraud for not being able to stop the invasion. And realizing that they need a songstress, Cheryl breaks out of her funk and steps back into the role of the Galactic Fairy. After all, not only does she have the ability to generate fold waves, but she also has the ability to be a beacon of hope when Ranka isn't able to do so. They aren't replacements of one another, they're complementary. While Clan is micronizing so she could pilot her Batroid, a bunch of Vajra break into the hangar. And in order to protect her, Michael jumps straight into it, taking a stabbing through the chest. And while he kills it, yeah, he's not bouncing back from that. In his last moments, as he drifts into the open space, he finally says what he's been hesitating to say this entire series. The person he loved was her. This is a fucking phenomenal death scene. The way the explosion synchronized with the insert song's beat drop, the sad montage, the amazing vocal performances from Clan's VA especially, and this amazing transition where Cheryl's teardrop turns into a small burning light in the galaxy to represent Michael, it all just hit. Even the credits just had a moment of silence, being completely black. I didn't even have any strong feelings towards Michael, but goddamn dude, this had me fucked up. Next episode immediately picks things back up. Leon's now the president. Congrats man, wonder how you pulled that off. Clan goes on a rampage to avenge Michael. Luca develops a super powerful weapon against the Vajra called Fold Bombs. And they plan on taking Ranka into battle so they could use her song against the Vajra. Before the performance, Vajra reminds her that she doesn't need to sing if she doesn't want to. But she doesn't agree. Of course she doesn't want to, but she needs to. For as upset as she is, and as painful as this may be, she can't just let everybody die. And besides, even if it's not romantically, Alto still does want her to sing. And that's enough for her to squeeze out a teary-eyed performance of the IMO song. It's honestly kinda hard to watch. Like, the singing in Macross is supposed to instill the viewer with hope, but this shit just bums me out. I'm watching a 16-year-old girl talking about how much it hurts as she's singing her childhood lullaby as a tool for murder. People shit on Vajra for his lack of compliance with the military, but this is exactly what he was trying to prevent. I'm sorry I had to make this about Neki Vajra again, I have a problem. After the fight is over, the people are left with a feeling of emptiness. They won, but at what cost? They hold a service for the number of people that were lost, but when Ranka's asked to perform, she just breaks down again. She runs off and collapses to the ground, just saying she can't take it anymore. Why her? Why are we throwing the faith of humanity onto one teenage girl? Hey, it's Big Icon! Alto gets a call from Ranka, asking to yet again meet up at the park. And we get a pretty cute scene of him teaching her how to fold his iconic paper airplane. She asks him why he's so fascinated with the sky, and he explains it's because of his mom. When she would lie down bedridden, she'd always be looking up to the sky, fantasizing about the freedom that lies within, almost as if it were some sort of fairy tale. He thanks Ranka for making him reflect on that moment, remembering his original purpose for flying. We get another cute moment of them throwing their planes together. And then things take a turn. Aikun, now a fully evolved Vajra, arrives, and Ranka tells Alto to come with them. She explains that she's begun piecing together her past, and she's sick of being used as a puppet. She wants to carve her own path, and to do that, she needs to learn who she truly is. And so she's going with Brera and Aikun back to the Vajra homeland. Alto, still under the belief that war is survival of the fittest and coexistence isn't possible, rejects the offer, which naturally saddens her. It's a really heartbreaking scene. Not only do we got these cinematic shots, sad insert songs, and montages, but narratively speaking, it's tragic to see Ranka reach this point. The next couple of episodes have the military deeming her as a traitor to humanity, but if you ask me, it's humanity who failed her. Even though he meant well, Osma still hurt her by keeping stuff hidden for so long. Alto's indecisiveness also hurt her, with him essentially leading her on, going back to her and then immediately jumping straight back to Cheryl. And obviously Grace and the government have been using her as a puppet to assist in mass murder. And even the everyday citizens of the frontier are hailing her as the new Lin Minmay. Minmay is like the Jesus of the Macross universe. You know how high those expectations are? The only ones in this series to really treat her right are Brera and Aikun, so I don't blame her for taking off with them, even if it means leaving the frontier. But as Ranka falls, Cheryl rises, with her making a comeback into the music industry. She also has Ranka's old manager, Elmo. He's chill, shoutouts to him. It's genuinely nice to see. I like how her new music has mellowed out. It shows how these songs are now coming from the heart, rather than what the producers think are catchy. Clan has a talk with Alto, venting about how she wished her and Michael could have been honest about their feelings sooner. And she tells him about Cheryl's condition, and how if he doesn't confess to her soon, he'll succumb to the same mistakes. Osma and Catherine also try reporting the fact Leon murdered the president, but who's gonna stop him? He's the president. Finding out about her condition, Alto locates Cheryl, who's chilling back at his family's mansion for some reason. Having learned his lesson from Ranka, I guess, he tells her that she doesn't need to keep singing if she doesn't want to. But she insists on it, as not only is humanity in need of a songstress right now, but it's all she really has. Alto promises to stick by her side the entire time, basically solidifying these two as the endgame outcome. Ranka's floating in space listening to the IMO harmonica rendition, and you know what? Good for her, that's the type of mental break I need. Refusing to work under Leon's rule, SMS deserts the frontier, with Alto, Clan, and Luca being left behind and forced to join the military. They're ordered to fight against SMS, which leads to a tense battle between Alto and Osma. Osma's chosen his path, and is accepted that it's clashing with Ranka's, and it's time for Alto to do the same. Ranka gave him the offer to join her, and he rejected, and now he has to face the fact that she's considered an enemy. Ranka and Brera stumble upon the Vajra's homeland, which triggers yet another flashback. This time a memory of them as a child witnessing their mother vouch for a peaceful coexistence with the Vajra. However, as they try landing, they're swarmed with Vajra, with most of them being hostile. Ranka sings IMO and Brera fights back. Meanwhile, Alto and Cheryl are having cool cooking moments and drunk jokes. But the next day, Leon and the SMS Centrati guy call them in to report the research team's findings about the Vajra. The Vajra are apparently part of a hive mind and only communicate through fold waves. Since Ranka's mom was a Vajra researcher, she worked on them extensively while pregnant. This is how she's able to connect to the Vajra on a deeper level than Cheryl without any of the drawbacks. Getting back to them, Aikun finally snaps and snatches Ranka away, and as she's being pulled, she instinctively calls him Oni-chan again, which finally makes her realize, oh wait, this guy must be my brother. And then Grace calls Brera being like, hope you had fun with your sister, it's time to come home now, which makes him realize, oh wait, that must be my sister. Doesn't matter though, Grace activates forced control mode and turns him into a puppet. With Grace's plans slowly coming to fruition and the Vajra invasion reaching its climax, Cheryl realizes her songs are gonna need all the fold waves they can get, and thus stops taking her suppression meds. Alto yet again wonders why he began piloting. Sure, he knows why he wanted to fly in the sky, but what actually gave him the push to step into the cockpit? Then he remembers it was Ranka. It was his desire to protect Ranka that was his driving force, and now he's stuck in a situation where he might have to kill her. It's a very cruel twist of fate, and it's one that seems to be coming to fruition as, while lying there, all of her memories finally flood back, and I mean all of them. Particularly the one in which Colony 11 was destroyed. It was her song that brought about the Vajra. It was her emotions that did it. If you go back and watch the series, the Vajra have always arrived in moments where Ranka, or sometimes Cheryl, are feeling some strong emotion. It's her connection to them that's bringing about all these disasters, including the one on Colony 11. This realization, the realization that she indirectly destroyed her home, killed her people, her family, it's enough to break her, and breaking her is what Grace wants, as her plan is finally reaching its climax. We're reaching the end, signified by this episode literally being called The Last Frontier. But it's not the last episode, so it's a fucking lie. Overrun with pain and guilt, Grace tells Ranka that the only way she can amend for all this is by opening her body and mind to the Vajra completely. You see, if Ranka fully submerged herself into the Vajra's hive mind network, it created a path between humanity and Vajra that Grace could enter, and thus take control of the Vajra herself, where she could use their ever-evolving power to take control of the galaxy. She doesn't want pure destruction though, she wants to implant people's brains with fold quartz so they're also connected to the network and thus under her control. Although those that refuse will still be killed. Needless to say, she's a little crazy, but hey, at least Ranka's singing IMO again. In order to sever the link and stop Grace's plans, the military and SMS team up for one final mission: kill Ranka. I like this scene where the SMS crew are talking about Cheryl's earring and how it comes from Mao. They're all like, wow, so culture could be passed down from generation to generation. And then the Zentradi guy looks at a picture of Minmay and he's like, it's time. We get one last talk between Alto and Cheryl. The two promise to reunite, and Cheryl kisses him, while yet again handing him her earring as a token of good luck. But before he leaves, she tells him one last thing. They aren't going to kill Ranka, they're going to save her. And you know what, Cheryl? That was such a Basara-esque sentiment. I'll let you have this moment of skydiving onto stage while saying listen to my song. You've earned it. This kickstarts your standard Macross finale. Cheryl sings while there's intense action, but they flip the script in a way that genuinely had me fucked up for a good while. In order to defend the Vajra homeland, Ranka begins singing a song of her own, but it's not just any song, it's Do You Remember Love?
But Starlight, they've already played that song twice already. It shouldn't be that shocking now. You don't get it, dude. The context here just hits different. Do You Remember Love is the Macross song. It's the one that ended the first Space War and paved the way for the entire franchise going forth. That song is what Macross is all about. Unity, peace, culture. But here, it's being used as a tool for death and destruction. A song that once filled its listeners with hope now fills them with horror. It's a scene that targets Macross fans, and it sticks the blow. This song doesn't make you remember love, it makes you remember hate. Yo, my cat just stood up after I read that line, even she knew it was cinema. As Grace successfully begins injecting herself into the Vajra network, Vajra blocks Alto's path from Ranka in an insanely good dogfight. However, we get a scary cliffhanger as Vajra gets a clean shot through Alto's Valkyrie, blowing it to pieces as Cheryl looks in horror. Look, Alto and Ranka do the thing from the first opening, that's cool. Let's just hope the gambling technique pulls through again. I still don't know how he survived. Here we go, the final episode of Macross Frontier. Your sound. They don't even play the OP, that's how locked in they are. Alto's fine, by the way. Only half of the Valkyrie blew up. Like, coincidentally, the spot he was sitting did it. What kind of luck is that? As the battle proceeds, Alto makes the pretty obvious observation that the giant floating Ranka is just a hologram. So they fire the Macross cannon, revealing that underneath it is the galaxy. Yeah, remember the galaxy? Cheryl's home fleet that went missing? Grace was just hiding it at Vajra Land, I guess. She also had them make AI-piloted Valkyries from Macross Plus, so that's cool. This whole finale is fanservice galore. Osma yells Totsugeki love heart as Alto's heart manages to reach Ranka. By that, I mean Cheryl's Fold Quartz earrings allowed him to tap into the Vajra network in order to connect with her. However, he's too late, as Grace has successfully breached and taken over the network, slowly spreading the Vajra throughout the galaxy. We get to see all sorts of iconic Macross locations. There's Macross City back on Earth, Eden, which was the planet from Plus, and of course the Macross 11! That's where Fire Bomber American and Lin Kaifun live? You know what, Grace can keep that one. With Cheryl collapsing from her worsening condition, the military and SMS getting overpowered, and now this, Alto accepts that it's over. However, Ranka still sings. And Vajra, whose implant coincidentally got shot off, enters the network, telling her to keep singing, as her singing might have the power to override Grace's control of the network. Okay, but like, how did Vajra get into the network? He doesn't have a Fold Quartz earring, nor does he have fold waves. Does he? I mean, he's Ranka's brother, so he might have fold waves, but we've never heard him sing to generate any. I don't know how bro got in here, I gotta accept it. Within the Fold network, Alto and Ranka find Cheryl, who's lost all hope, saying there's nothing left she can offer. But Ranka returns the favor from earlier and bitch slaps her back, telling her that it was because of her encouragement she was able to become an idol to begin with. And it's only because of her that Alto has the motivation to fly. He himself says he flew for Ranka, he flew for Cheryl, they're both his wings. Fuck dude, if you ask me, they should all just date each other. With this newfound determination, the three kickstart the true final battle with the final song of Macross Frontier. What song did they choose, you might ask? All of them. No, seriously, they mashed up every song into the show, and not only does it just sound consistently good, but it always matches what's happening on screen. I like when Alto finally saves Ranka, and she's like, Q, 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 my boyfriend's a pilot. As they keep singing, Ikun's the first to return back to normal, showing that even if they don't have brains, the Vajra are indeed capable of redemption. But honestly, Ranka summarizes everything better than I ever could, so I'm gonna be fucking lazy and just read off what she said.
The Vajra have feelings too, but their feelings are very different from the ones we have. They couldn't understand why humans live separated from one another and are always doing different things. So they tried to rescue me from the ever so strange humans, because I could communicate through fold waves too. But once they felt Cheryl singing, even though she was different from me, they started to realize that we, humans, are different from one another. We need to convey our feelings in order to understand each other. That's why everyone embrace each other to the ends of the universe. No, I couldn't just play the clip. Do you want Mobeat to kill me? The Starlight dubs are the best you're getting. Having dropped off Ranka, her and Cheryl's combined voices begin to override Grace's control. She tries protecting herself with the Vajra Queen's force field, but the Vajra retaliate and open up a hole for the Macross Frontier to do a badass punch in sync with the What About My Star beat drop. God, this is awesome. They even reclaim Do You Remember Love? It's Wholesome 100 again, and then Alto and Brera charge straight in side by side, and they tell Grace that her idea of unifying humanity into a hive mind, it goes against what makes it so beautiful. It's our individuality that makes us special. It allows us to love each other. And they do one last missile launch for the road. They open the Queen up and Alto hits the snipe, finishing Grace off, leaving us with a moment to just relax as we hear Ranka's mom sing the IMO song one last time. They land on the Vajra's planet, which turns out to be a beautiful one resembling Earth. Ranka recounts some IMO lore from her mother, saying that Vajra used it to communicate with species outside of their own. And the words IMO actually mean my darling, my darling. She would be so proud. As they land on the planet, Ranka and Cheryl have this moment of mild homosexual tension as Alto flies into the distance to take to the sky he dreamed of. Ranka and Cheryl declare they won't lose, not in singing, nor in love. They're gonna keep chasing after Alto. Wait, what? You devoted that much of the show's runtime to the love triangle, wrote the climax in a way where Cheryl obviously won, and then at the last moment pulled the rug from us and told us that there is no resolution. They're gonna keep fighting for him forever and ever? Why? I mean, I get the sentiment behind Alto's character. Like, yeah, Cheryl and Ranka are equally important to him. They're both his wings. That's cool, but the only way that could work logistically is either A, give them a fucking polygamous relationship, or B, just have them fighting for him forever. You can't just leave us with nothing. This fuck-ass song, it feels like it's rubbing it in. They keep singing, what is this triangle for? I don't know, what was it for? Bro, nothing. He just flies past them. We get this shot of Brera smiling at him. Is that the true endgame relationship? Are him and Brera gonna have gay sex? But aside from that head-scratching final scene, now look, on a purely personal level, Seven's always gonna be the one that has my heart. But goddamn Frontier is a close second. It feels like they took the strongest aspects of each prior Macross and threw them into a blender. It's got the gripping world building and romance of SDF, the cinematic direction of Plus, the stellar soundtrack and over-the-top musical elements of 7, the great CGI fights from Zero, and Brera is funny like Peter. The show is really the complete package, a great modernization of the classic Macross formula. I mean, obviously no series is perfect. I wasn't too fond of all the Gooner jokes, but they weren't really long enough to hamper the entire experience, and they kinda went away by the end. But aside from those, go watch Macross Frontier. It's only 25 episodes, you got nothing to lose. This show is like so goddamn good and like well polished that I don't even have much to say. There's
there's kind of a general consensus here, and it's that Macross Frontier is fucking awesome. If I sounded tired as fuck by the end of this recording, it's because I am. I'm like half asleep right now. Have an I'm-orific day.